Oi! Rolled back a little too far. Greetings! How you doing? I wanted to make a video about some stuff people had asked me to make a video on about what's happening next, and honestly, it was a video I was planning on making anyway. By the way, happy holidays. Yeah? Don't let all the woes of the world get you down. Ultimately, it's just like some flatulence in the wind. Everything runs in cycles. This is a cycle too, and very, very unfortunately, some cycles last longer than others. We'll see how long this one lasts. Anyway, I'd like to make some extremely easy predictions about what's going to start happening. Some of this stuff is already rolling on. Some of the stuff is coming. Some of the stuff that's already happening is going to be ramped up. This is going full tilt right now. A lot of people are starting to talk about it more than ever, and that is the entity that I call Hydra, or the evil cabal, is planning to gradually eliminate single-family home ownership. Just today alone, I had one phone call, a letter in the mail, and then I got a text on my phone wanting to buy my home. There are 3 to 4 deep state entities. One of those I'm going to call Darkstone, who are planning on owning at least 70% of all homes. They're not so interested in commercial real estate, and people are saying, well, you know, they're going to lose their tails when there's a real estate collapse, and people all of a sudden start you know, having unexpected events in their lives, and it doesn't matter. If you actually look at the long term, the rental property is near in perpetuity. Cash flow for them. They raise the rates 1 to 2%. That's endless. Hundreds of, well, nearly hundreds of billions of dollars at 70% ownership. But we're talking about one entity. We're not. We're really talking about 4 of them. Some of the ones I actually looked up on commercials and whatnot, I bet this traces back to Darkstone. And every one except for one traced back to Darkstone. It's a subsidiary operating underneath the umbrella of another conglomerate that's also it shouldn't surprise me, and it shouldn't surprise you, but you know as well as I do that this is going on everywhere. It's going on in Australia, it's going on in England, it's going on in Canada, it's going on big time here in the United States. People are being drummed out of their homes en masse. Increased property taxes, inability to pay the bills, when, as I humorously said, and it's not funny, when people get these phone calls and they say they want to buy your home, they'd be happy for you just to stay there too. You know, we'll buy it and you could stay there. You don't even have to move. We just want to buy your home. You could be a permanent renter until the day you perish. Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do with the money? It's becoming increasingly worthless. When you actually have real estate, you have something important. People don't get that. People say, well, you don't really own it, you got property taxes. You know, it's just, they don't. When people say that, they're both accurate to a degree, but ultimately wrong. The type of collateral that it is for these big entities to have that much residential real estate, it's absolutely off the hook. It's a game changer for them and for the government. I'd like to talk about them here in a second too. But people are being drummed out of their homes. Many of you have actually contacted me that you've been drummed out of your homes, that you're living in, you know, buses and vans, and it's really quite terrible. I've been telling people for the past many years to get land. I don't care about property taxes. I pay the property taxes, yes I do. They're really, really, really cheap here in Kentucky. $102 on 75-acre farm up in eastern Kentucky that I have. $102 a year. I'm sorry, I just don't care. That land has tons and tons, bottomless supply of lumber and firewood on it. It's got creeks on it, and it's got a coal mine on it. I am really, really sick to death of people telling me about property taxes. I pay more property taxes than most people. Thankfully, they're really, really cheap here in Kentucky, but I know all about it. That has nothing to do with negating the importance of land. People really just don't get it. I think they're actually, I know they are, they're rationalizing themselves. Well, I'm not going to own land because, you know, I don't ultimately own it because I've got to pay property taxes every year. That's completely ridiculous. Nobody ever comes forward and says that they don't actually own their car, because you got to pay title fee every year, and title fee goes towards like schools and road improvements and other wasteful entities of the government. I mean, that's basically a property tax for your vehicle. You know that little tag that goes in the corner of your license plate? Yeah, that's a property tax for your vehicle. How come I don't hear people chirping about, I own my car outright, but I don't really own it, because I'm not allowed to drive on the roads if I don't get my tag renewed every year. It's the exact same thing. We're going to start seeing actually a climate tax on long-distance travel. Europe is implementing the necessity for a visa. Before, you could just like hop on a plane if you had the money with your passport and travel, and they're brainwashing everybody, and they're implementing all these crazy fees to keep people from traveling. By the way, if you are somehow connected to the tourism industry in Europe or even across the United States, hotel industries, you're pretty much doomed. I hate to say that, but if you're anyway connected to tourism, hotels, places of interest that people would travel to, you're doomed. And that's another one of endless thousands of attributes, how they're trying to get everybody on their knees financially. We're seeing more and more of this. We got brainwashing en masse and brown shirts at public schools, which are the worst places you could ever send your kids. We're seeing all kinds of absolute wackadoodle nonsense and places of higher learning, and they're the opposite of higher learning. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not, it's kind of blatantly obvious to anybody with 2 brain cells. Anytime the government says you should do this, then 99 times out of 100 the opposite is true. Did you know that? I just wanted to know if you knew that. I just really had to mention it. My friends in Florida just got a farm, very, very nice farm, and they just bought a wood-burning stove, even though there's a stove there already. I've talked to people that actually buy stoves, and they're experts on wood stove installation. They've told me that next year that the stoves are going to increase in price drastically, and they're also too going to change them or become more efficient, but they become infinitely less reliable. They're going to take something that ain't broke, and they're going to try to fix it to make it environmentally friendly. That is actually coming. That's not a rumor or speculation. That is true. But if you're looking, your wood stove is old, right now you should grab one before the price goes up and they actually change the design. That's coming. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that or not. Also, too, they're working hard, and you've heard about it, bans on gas stoves. They're trying to basically bring everybody to their knees. This is the whole cabal of reset of what's happening. There are a couple things that I'd love to talk about in this video, about what's happening next, but it's so hot and so sensitive, I don't dare say it. So there are a couple things I know that are going to happen, because it cannot be allowed to happen. Because if it was allowed to happen, it would completely upturn the apple cart on the reset and the cabal's ultimate goal to bring everybody to their knees financially. Corporatism, and by the way, people confuse corporatism and capitalism. Capitalism is not corporatism. They're kind of linked, but they're not Siamese twins. Corporatism and the socialism that's going on right now will more fully merge together, so that corporate entities are working for the government's controlling the corporate entities. I will guarantee you, bottomless supply of income and your business's survival, but you have to work in lockstep with us. You've actually seen a lot of crazy stuff that big corporations have actually done in the United States. It's like, why would they do this? They've destroyed their consumer base. They've been promised that if they do these things, which are really woke, and other things, that they've been promised by the government, a permanent parking spot at the feeding trough. And that's why these corporations are doing things that nobody with a half a brain would ever do. So why are they doing that? They're wrecking their customer base, because if they don't do it, then they've been promised by the government to be shut out of a parking spot at the financial feeding trough. So corporatism and socialism will merge. Corporatism is not capitalism, by the way. I don't know if you know about coal script back in the day. A lot of them, if you actually go on eBay and type in coal script, S-C-R-I-P, it's fake money. Usually a lot of them had holes in them. They're not this big. This is real money. Yeah, what's real money, right? I know. When you worked yourself to death in the coal mine, they'd give you funny money that you could only spend at the company store. So the miners were essentially bound to the company stores. And this is a merger, like say the coal mine is the government and the company store is owned by the coal mine. Corporatism, that's why they're doing all these crazy things. Like, we'll pay these people, they'll spend their money with you because we're going to eliminate all the competition. Anyway, you would work yourself to death and you get worthless money that has no value outside of the coal mine. It's called coal scrip. And, you know, they could only spend this pay at the store, you know, like food and water, and they'd have to pay rent, too, for, you know, staying in their little dirty hovel. I mean, they're working themselves to death, and they're not getting ahead, not even getting ahead that much. That is the plan that these evil entities of Hydra are actually trying to work on us. So these company stores were the sole source of goods for the entire town. Everything from candy to caskets. I mean, everything, including, you know, your rent. You know, you can never own anything. You ever heard of that before? You're going to be a renter. You're just going to rent, rent, rent. I saw something, of course, the news is the biggest liar on earth. All of the news media are. And I saw a headline. It's so, so dumb. Social media, they talk about it as heritage media, you know, old media. They said, oh, it's cheaper to rent now than it is to buy a home. Well, that's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You never own anything. You're just going to flush your money down the toilet all day, I mean, every month, until you drop dead. Oh, but renting is cheaper than a homeowner's. That's just, I couldn't believe I saw that. Well, actually, I could believe it. It's just the dumbest, most illogical, irrational. Once again, just like heritage media is exactly like the government. Whatever they say, you know, the opposite is true. Have any of you heard about what's going on in Ireland, the free speech laws? And this is going to start spreading everywhere. It only takes one cop to demand all your stuff, and if you have like an unlocked code, they can throw you in prison immediately, take all your stuff. What's going on in Ireland is absolutely unbelievable. But anyway, the truth police and censorship, it's not about, you know, keeping lies out of the public circle. It's about clamping down on truths is what it's actually about. So once again, the complete, we care about the truth, we are the truth police. It's like, no, you care about people spreading facts, and you don't want people to know about them. If you thought it was bad before, I mean, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's going to be a super eruption starting next year. There's already been one. It's bad enough, but an eruption of techno-tyranny. Absolutely off-the-hook censorship. It's going to be way worse than it currently is. Once again, you really think it's bad now? You ain't seen nothing yet. There's going to be a multi-pronged assault on bringing down the system. I no interest in discussing one way or another on immigration, but it's being used. Like the New York City mayor and flew into Washington to beg for help. It's actually one of countless means to bring down the system. And it's being done. I mean, they're literally frantic. They're giving it to people who have never paid taxes. You know, they're giving free food and shelter, but they're not giving it to veterans. I mean, I don't care what you think about that particular topic one way or another, but when you're giving it to somebody that's only been here for 20 hours, for example, versus a veteran who, you know, fought for the country and, you know, might be missing a leg or two, you know, that the veteran doesn't get anything, but that guy does? Regardless of what your position on that is, I mean, that's just so evil. It's unbelievably evil. And there's no argumentation on that. It's just absolutely evil. That would be like neglecting your own children to give them food. You know, your own children. But, you know, you're going to find a random stranger on the street and give the food to them. I mean, how dumb is that? They're trying to foment anger, mutual inductive anger in the country, so they're not focused on the people that are actually causing all of this. Once again, this is just another assault on bringing people to their knees. By the way, look this up. There's a crackdown. It's called the Corporate Transparency Act. There's a crackdown on LLCs. So if you're like a small business or even a medium-sized business, they're cracking down on LLCs in 2024. They'll fine you $500 a day if you don't take action and file with the Corporate Transparency Act, which is another demonic entity of the U.S. government. So you wanted to be a simple little person, have a little LLC, a little tiny business, maybe like make stuff in your garage or your basement. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, your little LLC. Yeah, we're going to come after your LLC. 2024 is going to peak over the absurdity revolving around November the 4th. I'll let you figure that one out. I'd like to elaborate on that, but I mean, everybody with a half a brain that's thought about this for 4 microseconds knows that there's going to be peak absurdity over what happens next year, 2024, here in the United States. Ukraine is about ready to fold. It's already extremely close to folding. The mayors of certain cities, including the mayor of Kiev, I forget his name, the tyranny that's actually going on there, you know, the money that's flying to and fro, I don't want to elaborate on that too much, but Ukraine will fold. It's going to fold. I told people this would happen back when it started. I didn't think it would take this long because I didn't think the United States would infuse so much currency and military hardware into Ukraine, which they absolutely have. But Ukraine is on the verge of folding. Currently, we're working really hard, the United States government is, to gin up conflict with Iran, and it's coming. The heritage media keeps pushing true and false narratives and mixing them together and basically declaring them all true. Smaller banks, they're collapsing actually all over the place, but the big ones have been promised, just like the corporate entities that are doing things that are absolutely antithetical to business. They've been promised a permanent parking spot at the feeding trough by Hydra. That's why they're doing these crazy things, and the banks are they're at the pinnacle of that. By the way, in Australia, ANZ, which is a major bank entity in Australia, ditches. They're doing it now. They're actually rolling it out. They're not doing it all at once over the whole country, but they're ditching currency at some branches. They're not going to take in any money, and they're going to give out any money. Yeah, this is a bank, but we don't have any money. What? Go look that up, by the way. ANZ in Australia. They're sticking it out there. You're going to get people used to it, kind of like you dip your toes in some hot water at the sauna. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, you pull back, and then you kind of ease into the hot water. Ooh. That's exactly what they're doing to everybody. Like the frog in the boiling pot there. Australia is rolling out biometric digital ID. This is a confirmed fact. It's not hearsay or rumor or anything. New South Wales digital ID, face biometrics. Digital ID will go full mainstream across Australia in 2024. Full mainstream digital ID 2024 Australia. You think that's not coming here? I'll tell you what the reason for this is. If you think you know, you could be right, but you probably don't. Australian government Digital Transformation Act, of the DTA, has spent over $200 million to roll out this biometric digital ID. What this is for, and they're going to roll it out in Europe, we already know that, and they're wanting to get it here as soon as possible in the United States. Canada has already talked about it endlessly. The great evil that's going on in Canada is absolutely off the hook. Is a personal algorithmic profiling based upon your digital ID footprint. So once you have the digital ID to buy anything, to go anywhere, to ride a bus, to take a taxi, to travel, anything, all of that data will be crunched by endless arrays of supercomputers. This is not hearsay or rumor or conjecture. This is 100% undeniable fact. This is one of the many ways it will actually be used, is that they're going to take algorithmic profiling based upon everything you do, where you go, where you were, what you bought. Oh, he bought 2 packages of spaghetti last week, but this week he bought 5. Maybe he's like in a group and he's like hoarding food. Oh, no, we can't have that. We need to give Mr. Smith a call. Hello, Mr. Smith. Yeah, our computer resources say through your digital ID and algorithmic profiling that this week you bought 5 packages of spaghetti noodles and marinara sauce. Are you in some sort of group or something that's like planning, or yeah, you know, it's out of the norm. Our algorithmic profile pinged you as doing something, it's exactly what they're doing. That's not conjecture, that's absolute fact. Everything you do, including probably when you pass gas, will be up for algorithmic profiling. This means, of course, all personal freedoms extinguished. Yeah. Money, more and more every day, you know this is true. It's going to get worse and worse and worse, becoming more and more and more worthless. It's causing societal collapse and financial infrastructure collapse. This is not my opinion or feeling or belief or conjecture. It's a fact. You cannot wave in most instances, and this is all across the world. You can't wave money underneath someone's nose to get anything done. Nobody wants to work in it. Why work? Groceries are so expensive, why waste my time? I'm going to work hard for some money that won't buy me a box of crackers and a loaf of white bread at the grocery store. Not going to do it. I'd rather, you know, do the 5-finger discount at the stores and sit in my basement and play games. Yeah, I'm not going to work. It's everywhere. You cannot, it takes an act of God to get anybody to do anything. I've talked to so many people recently, it's like it's getting worse and worse and worse. As the money becomes more and more worthless, which it is, undeniably. I went to the grocery store yesterday, got $70 worth of food. It was nothing. It was like a bag and a half of nothing. This is also going to happen starting next year. Okay, you ready? Before, like if you did something nefarious regarding the IRS, you know, I've heard countless horror stories from people. You know, it'd take them a year or 2 or 3, sometimes even 5 years to crawl up your backside and treat you like a red-headed stepchild. You know? Like, wham! You know what I mean? Now the IRS is going to, and this is where digital ID and biometrics, and they want to get rid of currency because, you know, Joe Blow gives $500 to Susie Sue over here. The IRS has no knowledge that you got to get rid of money. We got to stop this stuff, or people make cash deals. Like you're in a flea market, I'll give you $100 for that, and then the guy takes $100 in, is like sticks it in his pocket, and he goes buys food with it. They can't have that anymore. We got to eliminate that. When you actually eliminate out money and you replace it with digital currency that's completely trackable, the amount of revenue that would increase and feed the evil Hydra beast in Washington and his tentacles is a multiplicative way, way higher than what it is now. You thought they collect a lot of tax now? You ain't seen nothing yet. Nothing. So anyway, the IRS is going to have near instant threats and crackdowns on, you know, Joe Blow and Bobby Sue. Instead of years, which, you know, I've heard countless horror stories about the IRS. Countless. Instead of years for them to, you know, drop around your neck and, you know, put the fear of God into you, it's going to be not years, it's going to be months and days. Rest assured 100% that is happening. 100% rest assured. One thing they're working on really hard is they play on emotions, and people that actually run off of emotions should not be listened to. Emotional, irrational people make really good artwork and songs and sculptures and whatnot, but they should not be listened to for laws or logic because they're emotional. And people that are emotional are irrational, and they shouldn't be listened to. Kind of like kids should be seen but not heard. It's going to be an emotional and irrational crackdown on the second, the AMEND, yeah, the second, not the First Amendment, but number 2. It's going to be a crackdown on that, and that, of course, is the freedom that guards against tyranny. I love the fact that old Dippy-Doo in D.C. there talks about deer in relationship to the second. He's done that many times, by the way. If you're not an American citizen and you haven't heard, and I don't listen to the guy at all, he's literally compared the second in relationship to going after Bambi. You know, like, what do you need that for that? You don't need that for deer, you know, harvesting deer. Use the word harvesting. Hunting deer. The second had nothing to do with deer. It had to do with tyranny. So they're going to crack down really, really hard on that. These people, Hydra, man, there's a couple things I really, really would have loved to mention in this video, but it's so hot, I literally can't mention it. But they will not let that happen next year. I'll let you guess what they will not, no way, no how, let happen next year against the will of the people. I'll let you figure that one out. These entities, they're demons. These are transhumanists that are on a power trip. These people are cowards. They're afraid of their own mortality. They are afraid of death. They're soul-denying nihilists, and they're looking for some sort of robotic immortality. Like, I'm going to transfer my consciousness into an android and live forever, and then I could hold my power over everybody. Yeah, this is exactly what they want. These people are literally the finger puppets of the axle of destruction. They are like Shiva, the quote, I have become destroyer of worlds. These people are literally the finger puppets of destruction. That's not an over-exaggeration. They are. They're the finger puppets of evil and destruction. And the only way this is happening is because most of the world now, and I know I'm fat and squishy and a lot of muscles, you know, there's still some muscles there somewhere, but at least I've got a spine. The only way this is happening is that all of you, and I don't mean you specifically, whoever's watching this video, all of you, collectively, it's just the percentage of spineless, spineless cowards. I could use a few other words. The amount of spineless cowards out there has reached critical mass, and the tipping point is that it can't be turned upside down. It's like, well, here we got, there's maybe a couple grains. Let's stick a few grains up here. Here's the people with the spines, like I really can't see it, and here's the people that are spineless cowards. It's the tipping point. It can't be turned upside down again because you have a critical mass of spineless cowards. And that is what's going on now. And this leads to what's happening, and this is what is going to happen. It is. You can deny it, reject it, don't believe me, fine. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. Once again, money's not going to get it done. Whatever percentage it is you think you could stick into tangibles that will keep you safe and keep you fed and keep a roof over your head, consider that. Because your money's sitting in the safe or in the bank. By the way, if it's in the bank, it's not really your money. Sitting there, it's becoming more and more worthless every day. It's like, oh, I got a bunch of money. Good, what are you going to do with it? Can't get anything done anymore. You should have actually used it to get stuff done and get tangibles a few years ago. Now, you got a big pile of paper. Lux et veritas. Have a good one.